You know, some opening lines, they just stick with you. They're so powerful, they totally reframe everything that comes after. And today we are jumping into one of the biggest, most profound openings in, well, all of literature, to really figure out what on earth it's trying to say. All right, let's get into it.
Right off the bat, in the beginning was the Word. I mean, you've probably heard that before, right? It's a line that has echoed for centuries, sparking just endless debate in art and philosophy. And it's funny, it sounds so simple, but at the same time, it feels impossibly deep. It's this huge cosmic statement that right away makes you ask,
What is the Word? Like, is it an idea, some kind of force, or is it a person? See, that is the big mystery the first chapter of John's Gospel wants to solve, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. And our first clue, it's all about what that one little word meant to the people who first heard it. Okay, so our investigation starts with just one word, but it's a super important one that the author chose with, absolute precision. The Greek word is logos. So check this out. The really cool thing about this word, logos, is that it had this incredible double meaning. If you were a Greek thinker, the logos was this impersonal, rational principle that held the whole cosmos together. Think of it as the ultimate logic of everything. But if you were a Jewish reader, the word was something totally different. It was personal, it was powerful, it's how God literally spoke creation into existence back in Genesis. It was even tied to this idea of divine wisdom. So the author does something brilliant here. He picks the one term that connects with both of these huge cultural ideas at the same time.
And right there, in that one verse, the author drops three absolutely massive claims. First, the Word is eternal. Notice it doesn't say, in the beginning the Word was created. No, it says, in the beginning the Word was. It was already there. It's always existed. Second, the Word is distinct from God. It's with God, like in a relationship. And third, it shares God's very nature. It was God. So you've got eternal, distinct, and fully divine. The stage is set, and we're talking about a cosmic divine being.
But, okay, just when you're trying to get your head around this massive, infinite, cosmic idea, the author throws a complete curveball. And I mean a curveball that would have absolutely floored the original audience.
This is it. This is the moment the whole chapter pivots. It's where the giant abstract story of the universe just comes crashing down into the real gritty story of humanity.
the Word became flesh. Think about that. The infinite, divine Logos, the power that created everything, took on a human body. It didn't just, look human. It became human. And then you get that next verb, tabernacled. That is such a specific and intentional word choice. It's not random at all. So the Greek word is eskēnōsen, and it literally means to pitch a tent. And this is way more than just a poetic image. It's a direct shout out to the tabernacle from the Old Testament. The tent out in the wilderness where God's actual glorious presence lived among the Israelites. The message here is crystal clear. The place you find God's presence isn't in a building anymore. It's in this person.
And the link to the Old Testament gets even deeper. The author says this person, this presence, is full of grace and truth. Well, guess what? That directly echoes how God's own character is described in the book of Exodus: steadfast love and faithfulness. See what he's doing? He's systematically laying out the case that everything God was for Israel, back then, is now completely present and revealed in this Word that became flesh.
Okay, so if this cosmic Word is now a human being, who is he? Well, the author doesn't just give you a simple answer. Instead, he brings out a whole lineup of witnesses who start revealing his identity piece by piece.
First up is the main witness, John the Baptist. And his job is so important. Basically, his whole purpose is to say, hey, it's not me. Don't look at me. He pushes all the attention away from himself, making it obvious that he's just the guy warming up the crowd, preparing the way for the one who really matters. And once he points, the evidence just starts piling up.
And what comes next is what scholars sometimes call a cascade of titles. It's like boom, boom, boom. In just a few verses, Jesus is called the Lamb of God, then Rabbi, which means teacher. Then he's the Messiah, the Son of God, the King of Israel, and finally the Son of Man. Every single title adds another layer, giving you this complete 360-degree view of who he is, from every angle imaginable: sacrificial, royal, divine, all of it.
But wait, there's even another layer going on here.
It's not just about the titles. The author is actually structuring this whole opening to deliberately echo some of the most foundational stories in the Hebrew scriptures. It's really clever.
He's weaving in these really powerful echoes of the creation story from Genesis. For starters, that opening line, "in the beginning," that's a direct quote from Genesis 1:1. Then, if you actually map out the timeline in the chapter, you realize the whole thing happens over a 7-day period. The message here is huge. The arrival of the Word isn't just some historical event. It's being presented as the beginning of a new creation.
So you've got this cosmic identity, the Word becoming flesh, this rapid-fire list of titles, the whole new creation theme, all of it is building. It's all leading to one final, ultimate statement that completely answers that question we started with.
And here it is, the final claim. No one has ever seen God. He's invisible in his essence, but the Word, who is Jesus, has made him known. And the Greek word used here is so cool. It's exegeto. It's where we get our English word exegesis, which means to explain or interpret a text. So the author is saying that Jesus is the living, breathing explanation of God. You want to know what God is like? Look at Jesus. It's that simple.
And here's a little nerdy detail for you. In that last verse, if you look at the ancient manuscripts, some of them say the only begotten Son. But a lot of other really early and important ones say the only begotten God. Now what's fascinating is that either way you slice it, the main point doesn't change one bit. The core truth is still the same. This person, Jesus, has this unique, one-of-a-kind relationship with the Father, and he's the one who reveals him perfectly.
So, why all the effort, right? Why write this incredibly intricate, poetic, super theological intro? Well, the cool part is, the author doesn't make us guess. Way later in his book, he just comes right out and tells us his exact reason for writing.
It all boils down to this. The whole point of explaining who Jesus is, from his cosmic beginnings all the way to his earthly titles, is so that you might believe in him, and by believing, have life. This isn't just abstract philosophy for a classroom. The author sees it as a life or death invitation.
So, let's put it all together. The picture he paints is honestly breathtaking. He starts in eternity with this divine Word who creates and holds the entire universe together. And then he tracks how that same Word became a real person in a real time and place, Jesus, to be the final, walking, talking, living explanation of who God is.
And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. If the Logos, the creative power behind the entire universe, thought that becoming human, becoming flesh, was a worthy thing to do, what does that imply about the value of our own flesh and blood lives? That's something we're thinking about.